What's going on, everybody? Hopefully you guys can hear me. Always seems to be an issue getting that to work right out of the gate every time we jump on. So let me go ahead and clear some of this stuff out. There we go. Much better. All right. I hope everybody's doing good. Hopefully you guys can hear me no problem. Somebody give me a thumbs up in the chat there if you can hear me, or if I need to make some adjustments. There we go. Welcome to the channel there, Dwayne. So, hey, James finally made a live show. Outstanding. So let's go ahead and call everybody out here we got so far. We've got Husker Gray, first to join the channel, first to subscribe tonight. Appreciate you being here, sir. Kevin Cook, thank you for also being here. Bartholomew Bob, the Barner, E-I-E-I-O. Of course, Mr. James Willoughby sent me James sent me a video link earlier today of Brock Vandergriff. You guys should go check that guy out if you get a chance. He's the up-and-coming, highly touted quarterback for UGA next season. He's still playing college football. His season opener was last Friday, I think. Last Friday. Anyway, apparently he showed out. Guy looked really good on tape, so good for him. Plays for the Prince Avenue Wolverines, so you get a chance, go check him out. Kevin Cook, thanks for joining us, sir. Dwayne RTR, one of our established, esteemed, and excellent members. Mr. Webb Payne, thank you for being here also, sir. KW, you guys, welcome to the channel and the show. Steve Pearson, what's going on, sir? Steve is also another one of those fine individuals that likes to take an opportunity to out of his day to send Mr. Brett an update on whatever's going on in college football. Appreciate that, sir. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. If anybody's interested, we're going to do a live show, a call-in show tonight. So if you guys want to jump in the stream here, feel free. You can mute your you can choose not to stream your video. It gives you an option whenever you load into the back of the studio. You can choose an avatar of your choice, or you can choose to stream your beautiful face like I do. So if you want to join in, feel free. Even if nobody joins, don't worry. Yours truly will have plenty to talk about. I spent all this time all my life talking to myself, and I realized I could have just talked to the internet. Brad W. says, question, Navy played the other night and got smoked badly by BYU. Navy was the underdog by 1.5. Will we see more teams lose that aren't supposed to due to lack of home crowd advantage, noise, etc.? I would say that's a possibility, but I would also tend to say that the best teams it doesn't bother them. It doesn't bother them that much. So when you go play in a hostile environment, yeah, the environment's hostile, but I mean, if you're a Georgia, if you're in Alabama, if you're a Florida, if you're in LSU, if you're a Tennessee, if you're in Oklahoma, if you're in Ohio State, I mean, pretty much all the games you play in, if you're a Power 5 school and you're typically right into the top 25, you're playing in some hostile environments, so it's just part of it. And Bob jumped on for a second there and it said it was not connected. So if you want to try again, Bob, we'll get you in. We had my good friend and cousin, family member, Keith, was on last weekend. He's going to be joining us again tonight, I think. So we'll see him here in a little bit. Kevin has decided to jump in the studio here, so let's add him to the stream. Here we go. Hey, how you doing, Kevin? Can you hear me okay?
What's up, Brett? How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, buddy?
Not much.
So what's on your mind, my man?
Just ready for some SEC Georgia football.
Well, you're gonna have to wait a couple of more weeks, man.
I know, they moved it back and then make everybody wait longer. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, what do they say? Anticipation is get you kind of wound up there. That first game is going to be so good, man. I'm so excited about it.
What time does the game start?
I think it starts at 3 or is it 4?
4 o'clock.
Yeah, I'll have to pull it real quick. They released the schedule and they had released some of the information me see, Arkansas football 2020. I think that it was on CBS, but I'm not sure. No, it's on the SEC network.
Okay.
And it is at 4 p.m. though. So we're going to be playing at Arkansas, which doesn't really bother me any, but I'm good with that. I mean, that's about as easy of an opening game as you can get if you're UGA. So, I mean, of course, unless we play Vanderbilt, but
Playing against Felipe again.
That poor guy.
I guess Kirby's probably going to take it easy on Sam Pittman.
No.
No?
No, I don't think so. I think I do think that this year, though, you're going to see a different style of football played. I don't think there'll be a whole lot of style points scored. What's going on, Snake Doctor? What's going on, Hold My Beer? The reason is because you're playing nothing but an SEC conference. So a lot of your games are going to be tough. I don't think that you're going to see teams leaving their really good starters in for as long as they normally would, because it's not, the style points aren't necessary right now because you've only got 3 power conferences really playing, regardless of whether the Big Ten decides to get back in the race or not. With only 3 of the Power 5 playing, there's no style points are not needed. I mean, pretty much everybody knows that it's going to be an SEC team winning. Whichever team wins the SEC championships going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Clemson's probably going to roll through the ACC, no problem. And then they're going to take whoever the winner of the Big 12 is. So, which will probably be Oklahoma. And so now you've got to go, well, who's left? Who's next? And then they're going to go, probably the runner-up in the SEC.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, the style points aren't necessary. It's just a matter of winning games.
Plus, you can play everybody too, right? Because everybody doesn't go against. Everybody can play because it doesn't go against their eligibility. So,
right. So, I mean, they're going to put players in, especially LSU. We'll get to them here in a little bit. They've really got it rough this year. They're probably going to go from being, an undefeated national championship team with a generational legendary performance to a team that might lose 3 games this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and which we'll get into that here. Matter of fact, I'll go ahead and get into that right now since we're on it. Okay. I have a laptop on the side over here that's been updating for like an hour, and it finally completed. And so when it powered back up, it made a funny noise, and I said, "No, what in the world is that?" So anyway, looking at LSU, I don't know if anybody knows this. I'm sure many of us do, but they had 4 more players opt out. And
how many is that total?
Well, it works out like this. They had 20 players signed to the NFL last year. They lost a total of 34 players total off last year's team. They only have 49 returning players, and they have 24 new faces, which basically means for every 2 guys that return, you got 1 guy who's a brand new rookie. Only 49 scholarships returned.
And I couldn't say walk-ons going to be playing.
Oh yeah, they've only got 70 players on scholarship right now. They still have 15 scholarships to give. So yeah, they're going to be giving some of these walk-ons scholarships. They're pretty much going to have to. I mean, they're tremendously decimated across the talent set. They're tremendously decimated in just the manpower division. I mean, you think about playing an SEC schedule with a full regular team like UGA is going to do, like Alabama's pretty much going to do. I mean, we both lost guys last year to the NFL, but man, we didn't lose 34 players. And I don't care if every player you have left is as good as the guys last year, you still don't have enough to continue to cycle through these games when you're having to sub in and out. I mean, granted you can have a 5-star player, but he's not going to play every snap all 4 quarters. It just ain't going to happen. The guy will be exhausted by the time you get to week 5 or 6. So I don't know how well LSU is going to do.
Yeah, they're probably at least 3 losses.
Yeah. So what's your take on the quarterback situation?
Well, me personally, I would like Dwan Mathis to be the starter, but I don't know how good he's working out, or if he's, if he's gonna stay healthy. Yeah.
So one of the things, so there's been a lot of talk about obviously JT Daniels and Dwan Mathis, and I'm a Dwan Mathis fan.
Yeah.
But you also got to look at who's got the most experience. And at this point, it's clearly JT Daniels. Daniels has played a full season. And hey, what's going on, Keith? And one of the interesting things is JT Daniels played a full season, and then he was doing really well in his season opener. He had over 200 yards passing in the second quarter when he went out with an injury. I can't name but maybe a couple of games last year that Jake Fromm had 200 yards passing the whole game.
Yeah. And his first season, he would have been a high school and a senior in high school, right?
Really? Yeah.
So really.
And I went back and kind of dug up some more information, which, I made a video on JT Daniels a while back. But JT Daniels had over 12,000 yards passing in high school. To give you an idea of how many yards that is, like his senior season, let me pull it up real quick, just so that I've got the numbers in front of me. I need to do JT Daniels high school is what I need to do. Now, Dwan Mathis is absolutely talented. Dwan Mathis is a 4-star. He's a talented quarterback. But JT Daniels was the number 1 overall recruit, not just quarterback, the overall highest recruit that year. What's going on, RMF, Todd?
He's from California too, right?
Yeah, he's from, I call it Mater D just because it ticks people off, but it's Mater Day.
Yeah.
And here's a little interesting tidbit I noticed. Bryce Young and JT Daniels came from the same high school.
Huh.
A lot of people, I don't know if anybody knows that. Crimson Brave, welcome to the only channel that doesn't get you slapped into a timeout chair. Every time I see him on anybody else's channel, man, they're always throwing him a timeout. The poor guy.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's see. JT Daniels, Mater D stats. So let me pull it up here. See if I can find it. Sometimes I go to Wikipedia, but sometimes I don't, because when I go to Wikipedia, it sometimes throws me off. Okay. So he played freshman. He had over 12,000 yards, and he played 3 seasons. He played freshman, sophomore, and junior, right? You ready for this? In his sophomore year, he threw for 4,849 yards. His junior year, he threw for 4,123 yards. But I'm going to take the sophomore season for instance. Nice troll job there, Crimson Brave. He threw for, we'll just say 5,000, right? 5,000. Yeah. He threw for 5,000 yards. Dwan Mathis threw for 5,000 yards and 2,000 yards rushing in his entire high school career. So there is, at least on paper, a tremendous talent difference and stat difference between those two. And Dwan Mathis played all 4 years. You can look at 1 year. The kid was 16, 17, and he threw for 5,000 yards in 1 season.
Yeah.
67 touchdowns in 1 season. 67.
Damn.
Jake Fromm.
Is that a school record?
Jake Fromm threw. Yeah. Jake Fromm threw for 78 in his entire career at UGA. Think about that. This kid was 11 touchdowns away in one season for throwing more than Jake Fromm did in his entire collegiate career. Now, I get there's a difference between high school and there's a difference between high school and college. I get it. But it's like, wow, what a freaking difference, man. I mean, it's just it. You know, Buck Blue come out and said that, you know, he felt like JT Daniels was going to be a much better fit for UGA under Todd Monken's style than DeJuan Mathis. But yeah, DeJuan Mathis threw for a lot of interceptions in the scrimmage game last week. I'm really curious as to what's going on with the JT Daniels situation. JT Daniels does not rush. Like his rushing, if you look at his rushing against Fresno State, right? He had 3 attempts for -6 yards. That sounds an awful lot like Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm threw for over 12,750 yards in high school. Well, maybe so, but
was that 4 years though, right?
What's that? Yeah, that was in 4 years though. I mean, if you were to add another 4 years to JT Daniels, you could easily assume that he probably would have went for 16 or 17,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keith Carr says also sounds like Tom Brady. So yeah.
Is the high school competition as good in California as it is in Georgia? I think,
I would probably say it's equally as good. If not better. If you look at the hotbeds for recruiting talent, you're going to look at California, you're going to look at Georgia, you're going to look at Florida, and you're going to look at Texas.
Yeah.
Now, some people would say you could look at Washington State, you could look at Ohio and a few places, but I mean the majority of the talent comes from those states.
Yeah.
Bet y'all wish Fields was still at UGA. No, I don't. I'll be honest with you, and I went over that ad nauseum. I do not wish Justin Fields was at UGA.
Fields is there, but it's a sister.
Yeah, his sister. Yeah, we do have a Fields here. That's right. It's his sister. Is she track and field or something?
Softball.
There you go. Yeah. Another sport I don't actually watch, but probably should. Let's see who's in the chat.
For free.
Right? I'll tell you what. I'll go to almost any college if it was free. Hey, what's going on with Jason S? Then we got RMF Tide and then Q Bearded. What's going on, Q Bearded? And then we've got I saw somebody else here. There's Iceberg Players, Janus Sports. What's going on? So, to me, the more I dig into it, the more I am, I guess, being forced to logically lean towards JT Daniels. He's the next most experienced at the collegiate level. What's going on, Top Dog? He's obviously got some throwing ability. If you go back and watch his highlights, he really tends to hit players in stride. And that was one of my big complaints with Jake Fromm. Jake Fromm was always throwing it behind players. Always.
Yeah.
He was
behind or ahead or high.
Yeah. High, low, behind, missing check down guys left and right. And Todd Monken is bringing in a style of offense that's they consider to be air raid. And when you throw air raid into an SEC guy's lap, he goes, well, what does that mean? Well, really what that means is that there's a lot of quick passes that are the 6 to 10 yard range. They're high percentage passes, and it just keeps the defense guessing. You throw that in with a Zamir White and with a James Cook, I mean, it's a recipe for tons of damage.
Oh
yeah. Justin Fields, yes, Justin Fields is a beast, but UGA could not use him. UGA could not develop him. UGA was not ready for a talent like Justin Fields with the offensive coordinators that we had. If we would have tried to have if we would have tried to get him to stay at UGA, it would have been a disservice to that young man. He's obviously talented. He was in the wrong scheme. He went to Ohio State, which was the same scheme he ran in high school, and clearly it fits him better. Now, to my point, the same thing I said about Justin Fields when he left UGA is the same thing I'll say now. He does not have, or at that time did not have the experience and the mental, not mental, but what I'm trying to say is that he wasn't used to being in a big game, playing against a difficult team. And when they put him in that situation under high pressure, he fell apart. You look at his stats from his playoff game, and he fell apart. I think he had 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, something like that. That's not what you need in a playoff game. So to say that Justin Fields would have done better than Jake Fromm, I'm not sure that that's the case. We need D-Rob and Jackson to step up at wide receiver. We need everybody to step up, man. I'm so irritated with if we can just do this, or we can just do that, or we can just do. No, I'm so sick of that. Everybody step up and do better, do much better. Don't depend on Richard LeCount to get out there and save your behind, or waiting on the next Lorenzo Carter to show up, or waiting on the next Nick Chubb to show up to carry the offense. I don't want that. I want a team like the 85 Bears. I want it to be everybody on that team would just absolutely destroy you. No matter who you lined up against, there was no good match for you. I want the wide receivers to be 8 foot tall. I want the cornerbacks to be 8 foot tall. I want the safeties to be 7.5 foot tall and run like lightning. That's what I want. And until we get that, I'm never going to be satisfied. The electric grid, yes, sir. I probably should do this because I haven't done it in a hot minute. I was wondering why nobody was
joining in.
Yeah, it's because I get to run in my mouth and I forget to throw it down here in the chat.
I just hope we use the tight ends more than we have been, and do some more passes to the running backs. Hopefully they can catch as good as DeAndre used to do.
Well, yeah, DeAndre Swift had great hands. Nick Chubb had great hands. But to me, I keep going back to that circus catch that Brian Harrion made, where he basically one-handed flipped, double tapped, and caught the ball.
Oh yeah,
that one-handed catch. I was just floored by that.
That was because of a bad throw, right?
Well, if you have to flip, make a one-handed double clutch catch, probably gonna say the ball was not in the best place. I mean, and let's be completely honest here. Brian Harrion will most likely be he'll most likely play on Sundays, but he's most likely never going to be a Nick Chubb. He's never going to be a Todd Gurley. He's just not. I love the guy. He's got a great work ethic. He's done tremendous things for the University of Georgia. But I believe that he was one of the few people that I could say played to his absolute potential. He got everything out of himself that he could get.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like me, you know. I mean, I can go outside and I can train and I can lose weight and I can practice jumping up and down and I can get the special shoes that make me jump higher. But it's always going to be a struggle for me to dunk a 10-foot goal. I mean, that's my potential. I'm never going to run a 4-minute mile. That ain't going to happen for me. It's just not, I ain't built that way. Hog Dog, as much as it upset me at the time, the more that I have looked into it, the more that I have kind of peeled the layers back piece by piece. You listen to the things that the other coach, that I won't say other coaches are saying, but former UGA players are saying. It was probably the smartest thing for him to do was to go ahead and leave while his draft stock was as high as it was. What's going on, Michael Porter? If he came in, let's say that Jamie Newman came in and he's already ranked as like the number 3 quarterback for the draft, right? If he goes out there and he gets beat out by any of these quarterbacks, if he gets injured and goes out, there's a strong likelihood he's never going to come back in. He's never going to play in college again. So it's going to make it hard for him to recover from that injury. On top of that, if Jamie Newman decided all of a sudden that he's never going to play another collegiate snap, he's still going to make his millions. He's still going to make millions. If he loses that job, whoever he loses that job to, they're not going to give it back to him. If JT Daniels takes it away, Newman's not getting it back. If he loses it to Carson Beck, he ain't getting it back. You got Brock Vandergrift coming next year. He's not going to give it up either. So Jamie Newman, as mad as upset as it made me, because in my mind I was like, this guy is absolutely going to be amazing. It looks like I was mistaken. So, man, and maybe that's for the best. I don't know. What's going on, Jimbo? Jimbo, who that dog?
So with Vandergrift coming in next year, you think somebody's going to transfer out?
Well, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting, because now that you have Jamie Newman that's transferred, Jamie Newman's gone.
Yeah.
Now you've got Carson Beck, who we don't know what we've got in Carson Beck yet. Carson Beck may be a complete wash. It happens all the time. JT Daniels, JT Daniels got a really weird, like, he could end up playing like this guy could end up playing for so much longer. Yeah, because he played one full season in 2018. He'll likely get a medical red shirt for 2019. Everybody's getting a waive for 2020, right? So that means he could play in 21. He could play in 22. He could play in 23. And theoretically, he could still play in 2024, because then that would exhaust his 5 years of eligibility. So this guy could still be playing for UGA in 5 years from now. So that would put him – now, obviously, he would probably go pro before that happened.
Yeah.
But realistically speaking, he could play college football from 2018 to 2025, so 7 years in college ball. The guy could leave college football and be 26, 27 years old.
And then Dwan Mathis, he hadn't played at all yet. He's still got, 4 years left too, right? So.
Yeah, Dwan Mathis, his stats were – that's JT Daniels' stats. Let me pull them up. Dwan Mathis was like, everybody was expecting him to come in and play, and he was highly touted as a dual threat.
And he's from Michigan?
I think he is from Michigan, MI, whichever one that is.
Yeah.
He's 6'2". Let's see, pro style quarterback. See, this is why I can't trust 24/7 Sports. Everywhere has this guy listed as 6'4", 200 pounds. 24/7 Sports got him listed as 6'6", 205. So he must have grew 2 more inches. I don't know that he's ever even played a snap at the collegiate level, so could be anywhere.
He only played in the spring game.
Yeah, well, he looked pretty good in the spring game, but the reports keep coming back that he's not doing that great in the scrimmage games. So I'm interested as to see.
Yeah, I don't know what that surgery did to him. I don't know if
it's definitely
mental something. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting. But I mean, we got to take what we can get. So. I mean, if it's Dwan Mathis, it's Dwan Mathis. If it's JT Daniels, it's JT Daniels. But the one thing I've been able to kind of gather is that it doesn't look like it's going to be Stetson Bennett, which makes me happy.
Yeah. I mean, was it last year you only had Jake Fromm and Stetson Bennett? That was only 2 choices you had?
Yeah, because we had Justin Fields transferred. So, I mean, that was pretty much what was that other guy's name? Oh, God. Was it Plumlee?
The one that went to Ole Miss?
Am
I John Reese Plumlee?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was originally supposed to come to Georgia.
And then he transferred, didn't he?
Or he just didn't sign with Georgia. I guess he signed with
He didn't sign with Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was going to be the other guy, but then I think that got knocked down. Hold my beer says he sees us losing 1 or 2. Bama will be the king again this year. I'm interested into what 2 teams that you think. Obviously, I'm guessing you're saying Alabama's going to beat Georgia, and I can understand why somebody would say that. That's a legitimate argument you could make. But what is the other team? Because I know you're not picking Florida. I'm waiting on that answer.
Can't be Auburn either. We're 12
It
and
ain't
3 the
gonna
last
be.
15 games. Even though it's the
been
second game this year.
They're gonna have to change their. I mean, if we own them any harder, they're gonna have to change the name of the stadiums to Georgia South and Georgia West.
What's bad is we beat Auburn more than Alabama does.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's crazy is that Auburn beats Alabama pretty much more than anybody else does on a routine basis. It's just weird.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they beat us a couple of years ago in a meaningless game, and then we come back and destroyed them when it mattered. So,
yeah, that was a dog piss game, right?
Oh, yeah.
We beat the dog piss out of them.
I love that, man. Hate to say it, LSU will drop 2 to 3. I wouldn't be surprised if they accidentally drop 4. I would not be surprised because I can't see them really beating Alabama.
Especially when you got walk-ons playing.
Yeah, got a lot of walk-ons playing. The depth isn't there, man. So they got to play. I got to play Alabama. That's a loss. They got to play Auburn. You could say that might be a loss.
They play Florida too, right?
Yep, they play Florida. They could lose that game, and they could lose to Texas A&M. So, hey, man, if you go back and you look at my track record, Mr. Hold My Beer, on how well I pick these teams to win and lose, you might be upset.
Well, Jimbo needs to start earning that money.
Jimbo is Derek Mason of the West. Georgia playing Texas in the Sugar Bowl again. I doubt that, sir.
No.
I'm telling you right now. It's
Sugar Bowl is a playoff game, so it won't be Sugar Bowl.
Yeah. I don't see Texas making it.
They have the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl, the playoff games this year.
Yeah. I'm really interested in to see what's going to happen with the quarterback situation at UGA. Y'all keep sleeping on Bo Nix. There might be a reason why you want to sleep on Bo Nix. Because Bo Nix I like Bo Nix. I mean, I'd go fishing with him. But the problem with Bo Nix is that Bo Nix has the same problem that Justin Fields has, is that when you get him in those really big games, he's not going to be able to perform. It just doesn't. He just doesn't have it.
They should have come back and beat us last year.
They should have, but unfortunately, it's going to be tough.
He missed a wide open running back.
Yeah, twice. Trying to keep this magnificent wannabe beard shaped up.
Yeah,
I've never grown a beard in my life before, and this thing has taught me some lessons. What are you doing, boy? I don't know. My son over here. There's a lot of people out there that is saying that. Did you forget your meds or something? What's wrong with you, man?
No, just scored from weight
Hey,
training.
did you lose your head? He lost his head. Watch this.
What the hell?
He's got a giant size foam Deadpool head.
Yeah.
I also have this.
Oh man. I have no idea, son. So anyway, a lot of people are saying that this year that Justin Fields, listen to me. Who's got me talking about Justin Fields? Good night. This year is going to be, they say, is going to likely be the best. That's what he looks like when he wakes up in the morning. Get him some coffee. That's his air softened mask. That this year is going to be the best defense that Kirby Smart has coached. Now think about that. Not just coached at UGA, the best he has coached. Now, if we can get some offense put together, because I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about. Yeah, I'm not worried about. I'm not worried about Florida's offense, and I'm not particularly worried about Alabama's. Now, I can understand, and here's why: because every time we have played Alabama in since Kirby Smart, it's been a tight game. I mean, it really
Yeah.
come down to the last possession is really what it come down to. And so I'm okay with our defense being where it's at. If we can get the offense to step up, we're good.
Yeah.
Somebody
As long as they don't
said,
get wore down.
well, Husker Grace says, look at that Texas roster. The defense is going to be a top 5 defense. Offense is going to be a lot better. I don't think that they're going to make that defense a top 5. I mean, that defense a top 5 defense in just a couple of years. I think they need a little bit longer to get it fixed. I can name 3 defenses right now without blinking an eye that are miles ahead of Texas, and that's UGA, Alabama, and Clemson. Defenses are miles ahead. So we're talking about a freshman that made a stellar comeback and almost beat one of the best defenses in UGA. Keep sleeping on Bo, and they beat Bama. I mean, what else you need? What else do you need? A freshman? I like the way you ended that. I'm not worried about Bo Nix. If I had to pick a quarterback to be worried about, honestly, it would either be Trevor Lawrence. Not worried about Justin Fields because he ain't playing. Maybe Kellen Mond, because that guy's a talent. He really is. And maybe Bryce Young or Mac Jones. Mac Jones is a much better quarterback than people give him credit for. That guy can play. There's been games he's absolutely showed out. Did you forget we got George Pickens Cook and George Pickens Cook is running back? I guess King Von Smoking Pack. He's talking to somebody else. I don't know what he's talking about. Charlie Strong is overrated, dude. Is a recruiter. That's it. Charlie, 3rd and long, Charlie Strong. That's what they call him. They call him that for a reason because he earned it. Let's see here. Well, guys, this is a call-in show. You guys feel free to join the stream here. This thing will load up. Here we go. Did I double post it? I did.
Yeah, nobody else wants to jump in.
Does Georgia have a quarterback? Yes. But Georgia's made it very clear we don't need one to win 10, 11 games a season. We don't, apparently.
Just need to win one more. Maybe 2 more.
Yeah, maybe 2 more. I don't want to call in, but then he says you want to call in, but you don't know how to. Click on that link right there.
Not really a call in, it was a drop in, really.
Yeah, it's kind of a drop in. I mean, you don't have to. You can use just your phone for audio, or you can use your camera, or whatever you want to do. It's up to you. But yeah, I thought Keith was going to join, but he goes, "No, I'm." Do what now?
I thought somebody asked for the. Well, somebody wanted to call in or something. But
yeah, I'll put the link up there. So we got about 30 people in here, which I really appreciate everybody jumping in and joining the stream. Really appreciate you guys being here. Keith said he's coming in a minute. Okay. The interesting thing to me is that this upcoming season is going to be so incredibly interesting. Most of them are at a 20 to 25% capacity in the stadiums, so it's going to be really interesting. I'm gonna bring Keith in now.
Hey, Keith.
There you go, Keith.
Man? Can you hear me?
Yep, hear you good.
Yep.
All right, awesome.
Yeah, I heard that the teams are supposed to allow 500 tickets for the opposing team or something.
I haven't heard that, but I mean, it's certainly a possibility.
I thought they weren't gonna allow any opposing fans. I guess they're gonna have at least 500 if they want it, I guess.
The electric grid said he's about to call in. I got hold my beer on here too. So Kevin, if it's okay, we'll drop you off here, man. Let somebody else jump on here for a little bit.
All right, that's no problem. I think I need to go feed my dogs or whatever anyway.
All right, man. Well,
right.
feel free. Yeah, thanks for being here. Jump in on the next one.
All right, man.
All right, thanks, buddy. Bye.
See you.
All right, we're gonna add hold my beer to the stream. You ready? You ready there?
Yeah, what's up, big dog?
What's going on, buddy? I got to tell you, you look a lot better with that face mask on.
stuck at work, man. Stuck
There
at
you
work.
go. What do you do, man? What do you do?
Construction, do electrical.
There you go. Hey, I got some electrical stuff needs done at my house. You see these lights back here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you
I'll
live
hook
in
up, yeah.
Louisiana, I'll take care of you.
Where you at down in Louisiana? Huh?
About 15 minutes from New Orleans.
Oh man, I used to. I was stationed in Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Oh, my little brother was too.
Yeah, that's a rough place, man.
They ain't got nothing over there.
Nothing there, man. They got three things. Y'all ready? Some of y'all younger crowd better hold your ears now. They got a
Strip
bar.
clubs.
Yeah, hold on. They got a bar. They got tattoo parlors, and they got strip clubs. And after that, a Walmart. That's it.
In a dollar store.
They didn't have that when I was there. That's an upgrade.
That's it, man. But I tell you what, it's quiet over there. I really enjoyed it. We used to go over there for vacation, hang out. You know, it was very nice.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, man, y'all was a quarterback away from winning 2 national championships. If y'all had somebody back there, no doubt in my mind, 2 national championships y'all would have back to back.
Well, I can agree with that.
We'd have had 1 national championship. We'd had a decent cornerback,
Yeah.
but then below coverage.
Yeah. But I mean, you can't blame that on the defense, though. I mean, y'all just need to score points. Y'all defense is there.
Well,
we scored quite a few that year against Oklahoma, and I mean that year. I don't know if we can blame that year on Fromm. That one, we played well in the national championship. We played well in the playoff game. I mean, if you go back and watch that national championship game, that throw, the throw prior to the blown coverage to the kid's name escapes me now. The wide receiver that went to the Falcons.
Yeah, Ridley, I think.
Yeah, Ridley. The throw from Tua to Ridley in the back of the end zone. Tua was throwing that ball away. He didn't even know he was throwing it to.
I was really
Ridley made a play.
I hate Bama with a passion.
Yeah, I mean that was a blown coverage. The kid gave up on the play, and Tua just threw it, and it was heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Hey. Yeah, Phil, if you want to know how bad that is, I can't even go back and watch my video I made of that. Like my live reaction, I can't even watch it. It still hurts.
Yeah, that one stung.
The one that hurt me the most, I think it was maybe 2014 when we was leading. We was up on Bama at Tiger Stadium, and they threw a screen pass for the touchdown. I was there at the game. I took the win completely out the stadium.
Yeah.
I will tell you one of the ones that absolutely like chapped my hide. There's 2 plays other than the national championship debacle. There's 2 plays in Georgia that just have scarred me for life.
Let me guess one of them.
Okay.
The Aaron Murray play where the dude catches it short of the end zone and gets tackled.
Mosley catches it on like the 2-yard line off the switch pass. That absolutely, to this day, I want to choke that guy. The other one, can you guess the other one?
No.
The miracle at O'Hare. The where we had the game won. The game was won. It was over, and it was just a Hail Mary throw down the field, and it's 2 Georgia defenders were there, and the only thing either one of them had to do was knock the ball down. What do they try to do?
Catch the interception.
Is this the Tennessee game you're talking about?
No. This is against Auburn.
Oh, okay.
It's a tip pass at the end of the game. The ball is tipped. The Auburn receiver, basically, he was like, he didn't think he was going to catch it, and then he saw him tip the ball, and he's like, oh, well, here's a gift, and he runs to the end zone, touchdown. And I was like, oh my God, dude, that was absolutely the dumbest.
That was the same year that Auburn had the kick 6 too.
Yeah,
they were. That was like the year of Auburn being lucky every game.
It was like, my goodness, dude, that made me so mad. That game, I remember that game. I was standing in the living room of my house when I was living in Nebraska. I took off my hat and threw it against the wall, and I was, oh my goodness, I was so pissed.
Been there, done that.
Man, I can tell you right now, that's when I was cussing Mark. That's when I started cussing Mark Rick up one side and down the other.
I don't know. I can't wait for football. That's all I'm worried about.
Well, here's an interesting thing. And you have to be careful. I have to be careful what I say on this channel about the. It rhymes with Sharona and Tyrus.
Yeah.
I have to be careful about what I say about Sharona Tyrus because they'll snatch your stuff down pretty quick on that.
Right.
But Alabama, I think everybody in the whole damn town of Tuscaloosa caught it. And then it was like, they didn't say another word. That's it. Just business as usual.
That's right.
And I went, they brought up the fact there was like 4 people at Auburn that come down with Sharona. And then the whole damn state, Alabama, caught it. And then it was like, well, what's going on with the Georgia quarterback situation? And I'm like, okay, this is what it is. I guess we're going to play football. That's whenever I knew that people was serious about playing football. Because that's about as wrong as you could go at Alabama with it, as far as the having to deal with stuff. That's right. That's an extreme situation, to say the least. And then they're like, nope, we're still playing football. And I'm like, okay, we're good. We're good. Yep, we're good. I'm in. I'm bought in. Yep.
I hate to say it, though. Alabama's going to be a king again this year. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they got everything. You know, nobody opted out. You know what I mean? It's just they had a young team last year. They're going to be back in business this year. There's no doubt.
I absolutely agree.
I agree too.
I think that the interesting thing is, and just hear me out, Can you imagine if it plays out like it did a couple years ago, where let's say Georgia beats Alabama week 4? I think that's a possibility. And then let's say Auburn gets lucky, beats Alabama. That's a 2-loss Alabama team.
Yeah.
It is possible that Alabama, even though they may be the best team in the West, still doesn't get to go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think one thing you may see this year is, with only 3 of the 5 power conferences actually playing, you may see. I mean, there's a high likelihood that you may see 2 SEC teams in this playoff, and I think the non-SEC champion SEC team is probably not going to be a team that lost the SEC championship game. I think you're probably looking at a team that gets to sit home that week and not lose. So you may look at an Auburn or a Florida even sneaking in to a national or to a playoff game this year.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be more beneficial not to play in that game if you're wanting to,
Definitely.
So
you look at what happened to Georgia a couple of years ago. I mean, we got punished for playing in that game. There were so many people. I mean, you had ESPN even saying that Georgia should have been in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think it was Notre Dame or somebody, they scooted ahead of us that year.
Yep.
And it was only because we played in that game. If we had not played in that game, then we probably would have made it in.
Yeah.
Well, regardless of how it pans out in the SEC, I can tell you that this year, I'm very happy to know that Notre Dame is going to have to play in the ACC.
I agree with that.
So that means they're going to have to play, if they run all the other games, they got to play in the ACC championship. And you can bet your sweet behind they will not beat Clemson twice.
I agree.
So to me, I think, and I've said this and I'll say it again, I think that this is the perfect year that Clemson should have put Notre Dame over a barrel. They should have said, if you're going to be in this year, then you're in indefinitely. All your other schools are, all your other sports are in. Either you're in or you're out. And when I say you're out, you're completely out.
I agree.
Johnny.
All right, fellas, I'm out of here. Y'all have a good one. Go
All
Tigers.
right, you too. Welcome back.
Hey, bud.
Thanks, man. Thanks, hold my beer.
All right, bye.
See ya. That's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. One thing I do want to do is I'm going to look up the schedule for the Prince Avenue Wolverines, and I want to go to one of their Friday night games because I know they're having fans because you can see it on the video. There's people there. I want to go watch Brock throw, see what happens. So, doesn't he plays in Bartow, I think.
Oh, yeah. I had to see where he plays at.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So what's your take on LSU, man?
On LSU?
Yeah.
I mean, they lost a lot, man. I don't see them doing too much, making too much hay over there in the West. I mean, I think this is an Auburn, Alabama kind of year. I think Auburn's going to be. I do think Bo Nix is going to be improved. I think Auburn's going to be improved. I think Auburn and Alabama are going to run away with that, with the West.
So who do you? I mean, it's pretty easy to pick out the number 1 and the number 2 here. Who do you think is going to be the number 3
in the West?
In the West.
I don't know. I mean, I think Texas A&M is up there. I mean, I think Jimbo. They're paying him a lot of money. He's got to do something out there. I think the pressure is going to be on them this year, especially with LSU. Not bringing back so many guys. I think that third place is up for grabs, but I think look for Texas A&M to start scooting in there.
So I think that Texas A&M has a strong case this year with LSU kind of falling off the wagon here. What's up, Emmett? We'll talk about that some more here in just a minute. We kind of been running on that all night, but I'll get to it here in a second. The Texas A&M situation, I really feel like this could be a year where they could move into the second place position in the West. And I think that would really help them dramatically as far as a morale boost for their team, because they used to be a very prevalent team. And I think that would help them dramatically in recruiting. Now, if you look at like currently right now, I'm always the guy who's looking at the recruiting board and recruiting ranking. Texas A&M is not doing a bad job recruiting. They're actually number 17 with 14 commits, and their average is almost a 91 rating. And to give you an idea of how good that is, Alabama's rating right now is a 94 average. Ohio State's a 94 average. Oregon is a 92. Tennessee's an 89. Florida's an 89, and Georgia's at a 92. So their caliber of player that they're recruiting is certainly there. I think that given their schedule, if they play it right, let me pull that up.
Sean's asking if A&M doesn't win it this year, is Jimbo on the hot seat? I don't see Jimbo being on the hot seat for a while. They're going to give him a chance to turn it around there.
I don't think any coach is on the hot seat this year.
Not this year.
I think everything's a pass. Whether you work in sales, whether you work in recruiting, whatever it is that you do this year, it's pretty much a pass. Because everybody's going to turn around and point at the same thing, and there's no way that you can call it an irrelevant excuse. The NCAA, which I don't believe cares about anybody or anything except themselves, whenever they're willing to give players transfers and passes and extra years of eligibility and everything else, I don't really – I think that every year gets a pass, including the coaches. So I'm going to go over Texas A&M schedule here real quick, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So Vanderbilt, I think anybody could beat Vanderbilt. So I think they start the season 1-0. Then they play Alabama. If they can catch Alabama off pace, this is as good a year as any because of the limited amount of practice. I'm not saying it's highly likely. I'm saying if Texas A&M comes out hot, Alabama comes out dull, it's a possibility they could win that game. I don't know. Florida is all over the place. Nobody really knows what you got in Florida right now. I think it's a possibility they could win that game. So I think they could be sitting at 2-1 right here. Get Mississippi State, they should beat them. They're going into their off week on October 24th at 3-0. Then they get the Razorbacks, they can beat them. South Carolina is a toss. They could win that game. Tennessee is getting better, but that's still a toss. They could win that game. Ole Miss is not that good this year, in my opinion. They could win that game. And then the next two teams is their hardest teams, but they play them at the end of the year. So you get an LSU team who's been absolutely decimated. And by this time they get in the season, most of their guys are going to be pretty much wore out and exhausted, at least in my opinion. I think they could win that game, especially if they've been running with a lot of momentum to this point. And then they get Auburn. They could beat Auburn. So, you could be looking at a Texas A&M team right here that just because of the way the schedule plays out, they could win. I mean, they got a real shot at being at least second in the SEC West.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly could win all those games. I don't see them getting through Florida, Tennessee, and South Carolina when I lose in one of those games. I think they're on par with those
Tennessee,
type of
South
teams.
Carolina.
Yeah, I mean that's not that that's like a crazy schedule. I just think, I mean, Florida's. I mean, we don't like to say that here, but they're improved. They're getting better. I mean, most analysts you see, will say that. I mean, some of them were even picking Florida to beat Georgia in the East this year.
Yeah, mostly crying Curb Street.
Yeah. But I mean, so I mean, I'd say look for Florida to be improved. I don't know that Texas A&M could certainly win that game, but I think if I had to pick, I would pick Florida in that game. But that's not to say Texas A&M. I mean, like I said, you're right. I mean, they certainly could start moving into that second place area. I'm still going to put Auburn ahead of them, but Texas A&M's on the move for sure.
So, I mean, if, last year you'd look at Texas A&M and you'd go, there's no way they have a shot in any of these, playing any of these decent teams. Like you'd pick them to lose for sure against LSU, against Auburn, probably pick them to lose against Tennessee or South Carolina, and you'd certainly pick them to lose against Florida, Alabama. But I think they're making the right kind of strides.
Oh, yeah, they are, for sure. I mean, you knew they were going to recruit. I mean, Jimbo's always, done that. They're paying him a lot of money, so there's a lot of pressure on him to.
Well, not only that, I mean, he's stepping in the right direction. He's taking the opportunities that he has in front of him. He's a player's coach. The players love him, and so when that guy's out there, he gets the absolute most out of those guys. It reminds me a lot of how Dabo coaches. The players just love him, so they try harder for him.
Unless you're an FSU player.
Jamie Newman's joined the show. Hold on, let's put him up here on the big screen. What's going on, Jamie? I wouldn't show my face either. Oh my goodness, I needed that. There's a lot of people that don't know who to pick in the West, don't know who to pick in the East, but. What would you, once you get past then to say, you know what, just go ahead and name off the top 5 teams in the SEC, both sides, pick them, see what you get.
Somebody in the SEC at large?
Yeah, SEC at large, yeah.
I mean, I think the SEC is going to come down to Georgia, Alabama this year. I mean, I don't see any other thing happening other than, like I said, maybe Florida. I just with every team playing the SEC schedule this year, you're going to see. I think you're going to see some losses, some records that you wouldn't ordinarily see. We're going to kind of go back to the old SEC beating each other up kind of schedule, I think. But I certainly think you got Alabama and Georgia at 1 and 2. I think Florida and Auburn are 3 and 4, and then I think 5 is unless I'm put me on the spot, unless I'm forgetting somebody. I mean, I think that spot's probably.
It gets hard.
I mean, you got a lot of teams that kind of slide into that area, and there's a lot of moving parts this year with teams. Teams are getting better, but right now maybe I'm not sure who I would put at 5. Honestly, I mean, I want to say Texas A&M after what we were saying about them earlier, but I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting somebody in the East that may have moved this year.
I would say if I had to pick it, I'd pick it a lot like what you've got. But at that number 5 spot, I would say it would be almost an even bar with Tennessee, Texas A&M, and if South Carolina can get their stuff together, South Carolina.
Yeah, and I was thinking about Tennessee and South Carolina too. I just, I'm not ready to anoint Tennessee into the top 5 just yet. I mean, I need to see more. They're moving in the right direction. I mean, a lot of the teams are. A lot of these teams that we're talking about are moving in the right direction. And you see that with SEC teams. I mean, they're not going to stay down for long. They're going to these teams have too much to lose. They're going to go out and make the right hires, and invest in recruiting, and it's cyclical. You'll see these teams get beat up for a little while, and then they're going to do what they got to do to kind of start bubbling back up to the top. And you're seeing that with Tennessee right now.
So what's your? Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not all that happy about Florida getting better, but it is what it is. As long as we stay ahead of them, I'm okay with it. But
that's right.
It's starting. The SEC this year is kind of starting to remind me of the SEC of old, where instead of having just one or two good teams in a conference, you're starting to see these other teams flesh out their programs, muscle up a little more than they used to. And what you're going to see this year is you're going to see 2 or 3 teams that have really good records, and you're going to see 2 or 3 teams that have horrible records, and then you're going to see a bunch of people right in the middle of the pack. I mean, Ole Miss, they're going to lose a ton of games. Arkansas is going to lose just about every game they play. Vanderbilt's going to lose just about every game they play. And unfortunately, that's the way it's going to be. South Carolina might go 5-5 or 6-4. Florida is probably going to go 8-2 or 9-1. You're going to see LSU, at least I think they're going to go either 7-3 or 6-4, because I don't see them doing any better than that. I think Auburn's going to have a good year, and they're going to be somewhere around that 8-2 mark.
I think an 8-2 or 9-1 SEC team this year, even if you don't play in that SEC championship game, I mean, and the fact that you play through an SEC schedule, I think they're going to get a lot of, especially when it comes time to, like I was saying earlier, come time for the playoff committee to start voting.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting if you have some teams sitting there at 9-1 or 8-2 and not participating in that SEC championship game.
So since we kind of touched on that, I'm going to ask this question. What do you think they're going to do with the playoff committee since you have 2 Power 5 conferences not playing? Do you think those coaches shouldn't get the vote?
No, I think they should probably still get the vote. I mean, if they're not participating, I mean, it might be a little more, I mean, as far as as far as I guess not being biased, you might see a little bit better, voting in those polls, but I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, I just think you're gonna see them vote on who's playing, right? I mean, you can't
well,
if you're not going to come and participate, you just don't get
I think
your name in the hat.
Right. Well, I think that not only that, but I think that if you're not in one of the conferences that are playing, you shouldn't get to vote at all. And I really think that's because, regardless of whether the athletic director or the coach or whomever made the decision was made that your conference was not going to play. So since you're not going to have teams that's going to have an impact on college football, you shouldn't have coaches having impact on college football.
Yeah, I can see that.
At least to me, that's the way. And my reasoning behind that is because I think, and just my own opinion, I think that some coaches have a bias towards not picking SEC teams because of that. A Big Ten coach, in my opinion, would rather vote for the coach of a Big 12 team because they just don't want to pick an SEC team.
Certainly. I mean, that's certainly a thing.
Because there's always been that, well, the SEC is not that good. Yeah, except whenever we play other conferences, we have a winning record against every one of them. More players get picked to go to the NFL from the SEC. The SEC has more national championships and all these other, stats that you can throw out there. But the thing, in my opinion, is that if you're in the Big Ten or in the Pac-12, I honestly believe that there's a lot of coaches that push teams like Oklahoma's recommendations higher than they should be or would be simply because they don't want to pick an SEC team. Anybody can look at Clemson and go, yep, that's an incredible team. But when you look at a conference like the SEC where there's so many monsters that play in the same arena, they go, you know what? It's just a safer bet to pick Ohio State. Not that Ohio State's not a good team. Or it's just a safer bet to pick Oklahoma because you can see how they dominate in that conference. But to me, I think that if those coaches aren't there, they shouldn't get a vote. And I think that it will allow a stronger representation to the schools more fairly than what it would have been. Just my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would support either decision. I think, when it comes to the playoff committee, I think by and large they've done, ever since they've been in, they've done a fairly good job. I mean, we knew whenever they went to a 4-team playoff that there was always going to be this decision on 4, 5, and 6, which team should get in and all this stuff. No matter where you put that cutoff at, you're going to have some debate. And that's why, I think eventually we're going to see an 8-team playoff. I think that might be, kind of where everything's headed, 6 or 8. I think that'll kind of be the sweet spot. But, by and large, they've picked the 4 best teams for the most
Yeah,
part. every
for the
year.
most part, they
They,
have.
they may have one or two misses here and there, but I mean, even still, out of the 4 teams they've picked, generally the best team has went on to win a national championship every year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the best team has always been in that top 4 and have gone on to win the national championship each year. I mean, they've done a very good job. So I don't think, I don't look for them for it to be any different this year with the 2 conferences not playing. I think he'll just pick the best 4 teams that are playing and we'll go from there. I mean, it'll be interesting because you don't have this cross conference play, so you don't get to see what these teams look like outside of their conference.
Yeah.
Not that we really got to see that much anyways, but you got to see some of it. I mean, you would see, Alabama play FSU like we saw a couple years ago. I mean, so you see it a little bit. You're not going to see it at all this year, but I think it'll still be good.
Well, I think it'll be. I mean, I'm just excited we're having any college football. I mean, they could have thrown in the towel and been like, you know what, go pound sand. We're not playing. But there was certainly a very heavy push, at least from a lot of SEC fans. I don't think there was as much push from the ACC, but I certainly know there was a lot of push from the SEC fans. I was kind of impressed with the Big 12 deciding that they wanted to push as hard as they did. I didn't expect the Big 10 to fold shop as quick as they did, and I did expect the Pac-12 to fold up. But I was kind of surprised about the Big 10, and now you see that they've put themselves kind of in this no man's land where they're, what do they do now? And so they're talking about they're going to try and have a season, but I don't know.
That's why you don't pull that. That's why you don't pull that trigger that early, in my opinion. They had plenty of time to sit back and kind of see what all the other conferences were going to do. And I mean, they had to have known. They had to have the forethought to think that, hey, if we cancel our season and other conferences play their season, we're going to see some type of mass exodus of players transferring. Not that we've really seen that, but
Well, the thing that I think is the mistake they made is they got a little overzealous that they just assumed that all of college football was going to fold up.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't want to
be the moral high ground, be the first ones to do it.
Correct. They wanted to be able to stand from that, from that position and say, hey, we saw this coming, so we went ahead and folded up.
Yeah.
And they didn't expect the SEC and the ACC and the Big 12 to just put the brakes on and say, wait a minute, no, we're still looking at this. Because all 3 of these conferences took the standpoint of, we're going to plan on playing college football. We may cancel it at any moment, but we're going to plan to play. And that really put the Big 10 in a bad spot.
Yeah.
So
definitely. But I wouldn't be surprised if something does happen if you have some type of outbreak in one of these teams that you get I told you so from.
Well, yeah, I mean, but I think that at least from what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing, there's a lot of the players are saying, I want to play. They understand it. And I mean, you can say that these are kids or whatnot, but I can assure you that these colleges have absolutely done everything they can to educate these students on the risks, to educate these students on what could happen, because the colleges are sitting at a standpoint of that they're basically liable at this point, because they're saying we can create an environment that is safe enough for you to come here. And if you run into where something dramatic happens, something bad happens, they're going to turn around and get a lawyer and they're going to say, well, you said it was safe, but clearly it wasn't. And so the colleges have had to sit down and weigh that stuff out and have all these conversations with these students about having these giant frat parties, sorority get-togethers and whatever. And these students probably know way more than the common layperson knows about this virus. And for those guys to turn around and still say, yeah, we want to play, that ought to tell you something.
But you can certainly bet that, that these teams have been, over the past months have been educating these players, online courses, training, all kinds of stuff about staying safe, about, everything that any piece of information they could give them, so that if these kids do come back and try to sue, like you were saying, or try to do something, they can, just like any corporation, they can go and say, hey, these guys were trained, they were given all the proper information, they knew what the protocol was, and they broke protocol. That's how they ended up getting infected. And so I think you're going to have that. And then I do think there's some merit, I don't want to get into the politics of it, but I do think there is some merit to what these conferences are saying that, you take a lot of these kids, you put them out of college, put them in a program where they're following a nutrition program, where they're following a regimen. That, to me, logically, is safer than staying at home and going to Target and Walmart and the dollar store,
Right.
bringing home groceries for their parents and grandparents that they may be living with. I mean, let's face it, some of these kids are probably living with grandparents that have these susceptibilities to this virus,
Yeah.
So, I certainly think that being in a program that is designed to keep these kids safe, to keep them on the field, is certainly a safer environment than having them back home in whatever environment they were in.
Oh, and I agree. I do want to address what the Reasonable Gump has said here. So just have the players sign waivers. Isn't that how the world works nowadays? For the most part, yes, that is how the world works nowadays. However, if you say this, if this is your approach, you have to acknowledge that this puts you in a dichotomy. If you have to have a waiver, in order to play, then somebody's going to say it's probably not safe enough to play.
That you're admitting there's some danger.
Exactly. So if it's that dangerous, then they're going to say then you shouldn't play. If it's safe enough to play, then you don't need the waiver. So you've got that dichotomy there that you have to deal with as to which one is right. Me personally, I would tend to say that you don't need the waiver. If you're going to ask these kids to play, then you can't have them sign a waiver for that. If something happens and the school does not follow the right protocol, let's say that the school does something that is grossly negligent and it affects a bunch of people, then the school should be liable. They absolutely should be liable. So,
but the question is, again, not getting into the politics of it, but having a kid that's enrolled in college, having him go to college is not being. I mean, you certainly have the choice not to go, though, right? I mean, what I'm saying that. I mean, if they choose to come to college and come and play football, I mean, there is some enter at your own risk going on there, right?
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the school. I mean, certainly, the school will, I would imagine, take care of you if you get sick. I mean, the school has doctor's offices and things like that on campus. So, I mean, I'd imagine that you can still, as a student, go take advantage of these things, and just like you would for any other illness. But I mean, having the right to opt out, I think, gives the school an out that says, they can certainly say without even signing a waiver, you can just say you're playing at your own risk, which
you are
to
anyway.
some degree you already are doing that anyways, right? Other than the fact the school will generally take care of any injury that you get for the most part. I mean, you're still having to pay for it generally, but I mean, they're gonna, a lot of these programs have insurance and stuff that helps take care of these, takes care of these illnesses and injuries that they may have. So, I mean, and let's face it, 20-somethings aren't getting sick from this virus very much, needing hospital stints and things like that. The thing that you have to worry about with these kids is them getting it and taking it home to people who are susceptible. And going back to what I said earlier, you're not having that if they're at school, staying at school around other kids their age. So, if you're playing from the standpoint of we're going to shut it down if people get infected, then we might as well not play.
Right.
Because people are going to get infected. That's going to happen. You look at what's happening in baseball, it's happening. I mean, certainly when the season first started, you're not seeing it very much now, but I think you're gonna have players that catch this stuff, and you're gonna have to have a protocol that quarantines them, and you have a replacement player to come in and play. I mean, these things are gonna happen, and you have to be okay with that. And I think the SEC and ACC is.
All right, I agree with all of that. I do have a guy in the back room here. We're going to bring him in. So, what's up, Electric Grid?
Yo, what's going on, big dog? What's going on,
Hey,
King?
man, welcome to the show, man.
What's going on? Hey, I want to let you know I enjoy your show. The first time I saw your show, I think I was watching a game or something, and you was in the den, I think, and I saw you broke your TV or something. I said, this guy is crazy. I was like, let me keep watching. So I kept, because I'm an Alabama fan, so every time we play, I'm like, because I'm not a Georgia fan, but I root for Kirby because he used to be our defensive coordinator. So I said, I used to like Florida when Steve Spurrier was there, but when y'all got Kirby, I said, well, I'm gonna watch them and I'm gonna go for them as long as they ain't playing us. So that's
We
what it was.
appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
But I do agree. I disagree with you on the Justin Fields. I think Kirby was scared. I think he want. I think he wanted to play Justin Fields. I think he was being loyal to Jake Fromm.
I think there's a lot there that you're right about. And I'm gonna give you a real quick breakdown of what I think happened, just kind of and put a nice little bow on it.
Okay.
Jake Fromm had known Kirby Smart for many years before
Exactly.
he ever came to play for UGA. He didn't know Justin Fields that long.
Yeah.
He did a great job as a recruiter in getting Justin Fields. But I think that the reason they went and got Justin Fields wasn't because it was Justin Fields. They went and got Justin Fields because he was the greatest 5-star player in college football. And so everybody went after that guy. And it was kind of like when you lie on your resume and in your job interview and you get the job anyway. That's what happened with Justin Fields.
And I also think – oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, because then when he showed up, this is how I knew that UGA and Kirby Smart and James Coley and Jim Chaney had no effing clue what they were doing with Justin Fields was whenever I watched him snap a ball in his 5th game.
Okay.
They burned his red shirt for absolutely no damn reason.
I said the same thing. I said that was stupid. Why would you do that? They
burned his red shirt. They damaged him needlessly. And then in the same season, whenever we're getting our teeth kicked in against LSU, we were getting our teeth kicked in.
So I was like, what? Exactly. That's what me and my dad kept saying. Bring Justin in. Bring Justin in.
Everybody that had an IQ above 2 was saying that.
He couldn't do no worse than what Jake Fromm did.
You've already burned his red shirt. He can't do any worse. Jake Fromm looked like he showed up, that he had just got jumped outside the club, was drunk, and had the flu at the same time. That's how he was football.
He turned into Jay Barker in that game. He was throwing 10-yard passes everywhere. I was like, wait, can he go over 20? They turned him into Jay Barker. I was like, what is he doing?
Now, I will say the only thing that I can think of in that game as to why they didn't put Justin Fields in was because they had ticked him off by not playing him.
Yeah.
And then they walked over there and said, we need you to get in there and play. And he said, you know what? Screw y'all.
Yeah, and then after the Alabama game, when they put him in that game just to do that fake, I think after that, I don't think you could trust Kirby anymore. I don't think I think trust ran out.
I know I couldn't trust him. At least not the offensive coordinator. I said, what are you doing? Everybody.
Yeah.
There was that guy. What's his name? He was that blind guy. Oh yeah, Ray Charles. Ray Charles was in the stands in a coffin, and he looked up and said, they put in Justin Fields, they finna run. This is gonna be a fake punt. Ray Charles said that. He was in the ground. He saw it. I said, there ain't no way this is
right.
There ain't no way that they go. This is a fake play. Everybody knew it. It was so fake that it wasn't even fake anymore. They just knew it.
If I remember back to that LSU game.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if I remember back to that LSU game, I think there was some talk about that there had to have been some type of disciplinary or some reason that Fields was not called on to go into that game. There had to have been something going on. That
you think so?
Yeah. I mean, and I remember there being some talk around about that too. Because I can't believe that that Kirby just decided to let Fromm sit out there and roast in that game.
Because I was like, what? I'm like, why he ain't bringing Justin? I'm like, what are you waiting on?
Mm-hmm. Why didn't he bring in that buff ass cheerleader we had a few years back? She could have done a better job.
Yeah, and then I think Kirby can recruit, he can motivate, but in late game situations, he scared me.
I think that the problem is that they put James Coley in as offensive coordinator for UGA when what they should have done was either fire him and get a better offensive coordinator or pay Jim Chaney more money to stay, or have hired in Mike Bobo. I mean, there was a ton of things they could have done. There are some great offensive-minded coaches out there.
I think they should have paid Chase.
There was no reason to try to, and James Coley may be a wonderful guy. Maybe he did deserve to be promoted into an offensive coordinator position, but not at a top-tier program. He demolished our offense. He does not have the – how are you going to pit a guy like James Coley against – and we all know who runs the offense at Alabama. It's Nick Saban, because Nick Saban's a hell of a offensive coordinator, a hell of a coach, a hell of a defensive coordinator, and he has his hands wrapped around every piece of that program.
Everything. And don't let them move unless you say
the only coaches that were still at UGA, that were still at Alabama from the very beginning was Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and Scott Cochran. And now two of them are over at Georgia. So Nick Saban has managed to continue to keep an offense playing football and doing well, playing offense and doing well. Do you think for 1 second he would have put James Coley in that position? Heck no. Why would we? If that's who we have to go play against and we have to beat to win a national championship, we certainly got to do a better job of recruiting an offensive coordinator, which is the reason that they went out and got Todd Monken, because that's when they realized.
Well, let me ask you a question about my team. Since you're the Georgia guy and I'm the Bama guy, and I'm looking at your team, do you think Mac Jones – and this is a question for you too, Keith. Do you think Mac Jones will end the year as Alabama quarterback?
I do, yeah. I think. I don't know who they got sitting behind them, but
they got Bryce Young,
yeah,
which I'm hearing good things about him. But they got Bryce Young, they got what's the guy? Bear Bryant grandson, and you got somebody else, but I forgot who that is.
I think it's funny about Alabama because they've historically just never relied on the quarterback to go out there and win games for them, right?
Yes.
You look back at some of the past quarterbacks there. You can hardly even name any of them, right? AJ McCarron and a couple other guys, right?
They got some crazy weapons though. They got Waddle, they got Baker, this new wide receiver Baker. They got.
They historically just have NFL wide receivers all over the field. They don't need a big quarterback. They don't need anybody crazy quarterback to throw those guys. Just throw it out there, let them make a play.
That's what's up. Well, I'm glad you put me in, man. I'm gonna be watching you. I'm gonna see if you're gonna break another TV, and and that beard gonna grow, man. Just keep on brushing. It's gonna keep on.
Man, I've been rubbing mirror on it. I want to tell you though. I appreciate what you did to your name there. Did you see what you changed your name to?
What I changed? Oh, did I put that in there? You put that. You had to put that in there.
I can't do that. That's your name, man. I can't change that. I don't know why you did that.
It's all good. I'm gonna keep it like that. Then I'm gonna keep it like that. So you'll know it's electric grill when I come in.
Yeah, I just had to have a little fun with you there, man. Yeah.
All right, man. That's cool, man. Hey, y'all have a good night, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thanks for joining the show. Have a good night. All right. Bye. That's a pretty cool guy.
Yeah.
So, well, guys, we're running on about an hour and a half here. I'm sure that I have done something, even though that I haven't done anything. I've been sitting here, but I'm sure I've done something to upset my wife in the past hour and a half. So I got to go apologize for something. I just walk upstairs and just apologize right out of the gate because I know I'm gonna get yelled at for something. That's just how it is when you're married. So, well, guys, we had a great show tonight. Big Dog Keith joined the show, so we really appreciate him being here. Always adds a fun and enlightening perspective to the goings on of UGA. It's always nice to have a UGA alumni. I tell people all the time, I said, "Did you go to UGA?" I said, "I sure did. I dropped my cousin off there one time and come back home."
That's right.
All right, guys. Well, you guys have a great night. Anything you want to add to the show before we jump off there, Keith?
No, man, I'm good. I just gonna second your go Dogs at the end.
All right. Well, you guys, you know how we do it around here. You guys have a great day. God bless. Go Dogs.